Good afternoon, students. So today I am going to show you the various statements which comes under your DML. So I've showed you in my earlier video that how you can use SQL query, which is for DLL, that is for creating a table. Today on this particular video I'm going to show you how to use DML. Now DLL was used in order to create or modify the structure of the particular table, but your DML is used to define or to modify or create, delete your data inside your particular table. So remember, DDL is used for creating the structure of a table or a database, whereas DML is used to work with the values or the data inside your particular database. So let us discuss regarding the DML. So DMLs, which stands for data manipulation language, it comprises of 4 statements, which are your select statement, insert statement, delete and update statement. Now select statement are for retrieval of information from database. Insert statement is used for inserting values or inserting data inside your database. Delete is for deletion of your information inside your database. And then comes your update, which is for the modification of data inside your database. Now there are 2 types of DML, which is your procedural and your non-procedural. So actually procedural are the users specifies what is needed and how to get it. Non-procedural are the user only specifies what data is needed. This is easier for the user but may not generate code as efficient as produced by the procedural language. Now what does actually this procedural and non-procedural means is, if we are using SQL commands in front of any software, for example your open office or any other software through which you can create tables, edit, delete these things easily, but you are using your mouse, okay, you're not using commands. So those are your procedures through which you can see an interface. Through that interface you can work with this kind of tables. And as your non-procedural are the ones in which you literally write down the SQL commands in order to create, update, delete or do any actions for your particular table, for maybe creating a table, deleting a table or creating a database or using that database. Those are termed to be a non-procedural. Now non-procedural are a bit lengthy and requires practice for do that, but actually the non-procedural is one of the efficient way of doing your SQL commands. Now the first statement that which I am going to talk regarding today is the select statement. Now it is used to view one or more records from the tables inside your database. The general syntax of your insert statement is select, then comes your star. Now star means your asterisk from table name, and after that you need to specify the semicolon. Then the next way you can use your select statement is, now select star from table name is going to show you all the records in that particular table. Now if you want to look at a single data of a particular person, from that particular data maybe there are around 10,000 data in a table, out of that you only want to see one particular data. That time what you need to do is select star from table name, that you have to specify the table name. Then you have to use a clause. A clause means a rule. So there are various clause or operators, also we call it as, these are actually logical expressions, okay, which is your and or, okay, and which comes with your where clause. So where clause are your where you are defining that I want to see a particular data. So in that you need to specify a where clause. So where clause is going to, in where clause you have to write down the name of the column of that particular table, okay, for maybe a age or gender, a name or roll number, anything. Then after that you have to give an equals to sign. Then you have to specify the ID of that particular data. Now why I'm saying ID over here is because if you can give name also in your where clause, but there can be around 10 students or 10 individuals having a similar name. There can be around 50 people having a similar age. So if you just want to look at one single data, but instead of using date ID column, you have used a different column, for example age column or an address column or a name column. If you use these things, then you won't be getting a single data, you can get around multiple data having a similar age or maybe a similar name or similar address, these kind of things. So in order to pick out only a one single data from that entire table, you need to give an ID, because we know ID is more or less equivalent of having a roll number to a student. A two student cannot have a similar roll number. Same way, a two person cannot have a same ID, because we know that ID is primary key, and primary key doesn't have a duplicate values. So we need to give an ID over here. So in order to see or in order to view a particular or a single data from that entire table, so over here I have to say where ID equals to, I can give any number, for example 6. So it will only show me the details of that particular person whose ID is 6. Then comes the third way of using a select statement, which is select column name. Then you can give another column name from table. So if you want to view all the data inside the table, but you do not want to see ID, or for example, let's say that there is a table student in which there is a roll number, there is a name of the student, and there is a gender of the student. Okay, so there are 3 columns. So out of that, you want to see all the data, but you do not want to see the ID of those students. Okay, you just want to see the name and the gender of that particular student. So in that particular case, if you want to use a select statement where you do not want to see the first particular column, you need to specify the name of column names separated by a comma. So I have to say select name comma gender from the table name. So the table name can be students, so I have to say select name comma gender from students. So that way I can use select statement in 3 ways, in which the first way is seeing or viewing the entire details or data of that particular table, or the second way is viewing the single data from the entire table, or third way is choosing that which columns to view from that particular table. So if you look at the example, select star from students I've given, in which it's going to show me all the details or the data from that particular table students. Then I have star from students where s underscore id equals to 1. So over here student id is equals to 1. If I give that, then it's going to show me all the details of that particular student whose id is 1. Then in the third way, I'm saying s underscore id, s underscore name, comma s underscore age from students. So if there are around 5 columns, from that 5 columns I only want to see the name and age. That this is the way through which you can do this. So you have to give the name of the columns, like saying select s underscore name comma s underscore age from students. So this is a select statement, and you can view or use select statement in 3 different ways. Okay, so next one is your insert statement. So it is used to insert one or more records into the database. The general syntax means how you are writing your command, SQL command. Okay, so the general syntax of insert statement is you have to write insert, then you have to write into, then you have to give table name, then within then you have to specify all the column names that you have in a particular table. After you specify the columns of your table, you have to write values. Okay, you cannot write value, you have to write values with an S. Okay, then again you have to specify what values do you want to give for that particular column. So value 1 is for column 1, value 2 is for column 2, and value 3 is for column 3. Okay, and you have to end with a semicolon. Please remember students, you have to end with a semicolon. Why? Is because after you give a semicolon, then the SQL will understand that you have ended your command, and it will execute your particular command. If you, until and unless you do not give a semicolon, it will never execute your command. Okay, so in example you can say that insert into students, this is the name of the table, then I have to open a rounded brackets. So the first column name is s underscore id, comma, the second column name is your s underscore name, comma, then s underscore class, then you need to close the brackets for the column names. Okay, after that you need to write values, then again open the bracket. So 1 is for your s underscore id, comma, now name is a varchar or a text, so you need to give inside your single quotes. Okay, always remember the name has to be inside your single quotes whenever you are doing an insert statement. All the data which are text or in which you have used a data type as a varchar, you have to specify those data inside a single quotes. Okay, so over here the name is Dheeraj Singh, so I have put the name inside a single quotes, again comma, then the s underscore class, which is integer, so I do not need to specify inside the quotes, so I've just written 10, I've closed the brackets and semicolon. So this is the way through which you can use your insert statement. Now comes your delete statement. Now it is used to delete one or more records from the database. The general syntax of, instead of I have written over here insert, actually it should be delete over there. Okay, please rectify this. So the first way is, if you want to delete all the records from your table, okay, if you do not want to see any records from your table, if you want to delete each and everything, then you have to write delete from table name, just that. So delete, you have to write that down, then from, you have to write from, then name of the table, then you have to end with semicolon. Now if you want to delete just one record from that particular table, then what you can do is delete from table name. Again you have to use a where clause. Then if you want to delete for example just one single data, then you have to use an ID. For example, I am saying where ID equals to 4, so it is going to delete all the data whose ID is 4. Okay, for example, there are like around 2 names in a table. For example, if there is a name like Mohan, okay, and you want to delete both the Mohan, okay, from the table, so what you can do is, instead of giving as ID, you can give a name. So I can say delete from table where name equals to Mohan, so it will delete all the data whose name is Mohan from that particular table. So if there are 3 Mohans, it will delete all the 3. If there are only 1, it will only delete 1. If there are 4, it will delete all the 4. So it depends upon your requirement. If you just want to delete one single data, then use ID. If you want to delete 2 or 3 data but not all the data, then find out the similarities between those data. Okay, for example, the student name or a student's age, a student's class, or student's gender, those kind of things. You have to find similarities between your data. If you want to delete 3 columns from that particular table but not all the records, then you need to find the similarities of these 3 columns. Then you need to specify in your where clause that, okay, where age equals to 13. So maybe your particular 3 data whose age is 13, so have the same age, so in that way all the 3 data will be deleted where their age is 13. Okay, so in the example you can write down, you can write this way. So delete from students where s underscore id equals 1. So over here I have just wanted to delete one single data, so I have used an id over here, and in the second line I am saying delete from students where I want to delete all the records from that particular table students. So this is your delete statement. Now comes your update statement. Now update statement is used to modify or update one or more records from the table. Okay, the general syntax of over here also I have written insert. I'm going to rectify this, but actually it is update statement. Is the general syntax of update statement is, you have to write down update table name set column name equals to new value. Okay, so if you want to update one particular for example one particular data, okay, or you want to modify one particular data, you have to do that way. Then in another way is update, this is for the first sentence, if you want to update all the things. Okay, for example, you want to say that all the students gender is female or male, you want to convert every student's gender to a male, then you can write down update table name set gender equals to male. So it is going to update all the genders of the students whose all the genders of the students to male. Okay, so if you just want to update one single data, okay, maybe you want to change from change the name from Anil to Ashish. If you want to do that, then you have to use again the where clause. You have to write down the same thing, update table name, then set, you have to write down, then column name, maybe I'm saying name equals to Ashish. Okay, where, then I'm saying, and then I have to give the ID of the Anil. So over here I can say ID equals to 1. Okay, in that way I can update the new I can give the new name for that particular ID. So in the first line, if you look at the example, update student set name equals to Rahul. Now what will happen is all the students name will be converted or will be updated into Rahul. Okay, if I just write this much. But if I just want to change the name of a student whose ID is 3 to Rahul, then I have to write down update student set s underscore name equals to Rahul. Now I'm giving a new name. After that, I'm specifying where ID equals to 3. So he's going to find out the ID whose value is 3. Then it is going to change from the earlier name to a new name, which is Rahul. So that way you can use your update statement. So student, this is the theoretical section through which you can use SQL commands. So let me show you how to do all these things practically. So how to use DML in practically. Okay. So students, I have used an MySQL because OpenOffice is a procedural way. So there are a lot of SQL commands which won't work in your OpenOffice. So that is why I have used SQL over here. So this is an SQL software through which you can use all the SQL commands over here. So students, I have created one database called class 10. Okay, this is a database called class 10. So inside this, I have created a table called students. So let me show you. If I say show tables, after that I have to give a semicolon. It's going to tell me that in this particular database class underscore 10 there is a table called students. Now I haven't inserted any details or any data inside this particular table, and if I want to see how this table will look like, I can say DESC, then I can give name of the table, in which it is going to show me the description of the table. So it is telling me in this particular table students there are around 4 columns, which is ID, name, age and gender. ID's data type is int, name is varchar whose size is 20, age is int and gender is varchar whose size is 10. The ID is a primary key. Okay, so in the key section it is written PRI, so the ID is a primary key, and null it is written no, so that means it will not accept similar values, and you have to give value for a ID. You cannot leave it blank. Okay, so first thing is you cannot give a duplicate value. The second thing is you cannot leave it blank. So there are 4 columns, and there are 4 columns in this particular table. So let me insert a data inside this particular table. So how I have to write down is I'm going to write down insert into the name of my table is students. Then I need to open the bracket, then the ID, then is your name, then comes your age, then your gender. Okay, after that I have to write down values because I have to give the values for these columns. So in the ID I'm saying 1, the name has to be inside double quotes, so I'm giving name as Anil over here, then age as 15 and gender as male. So as male is also a varchar, so I have given inside a single quotes. Okay, so after that I give a semicolon over here, then it's going to say query okay, 1 row affected, which means my particular SQL command is correct. Okay, now if I want to view my data inside this table, I have to use a select statement. So I'm going to say select star from, okay, the name of the table is students. So it's going to show me the values that I have inserted in this particular table. Okay, if I just want to see name and gender, I do not want to see the ID and age, I have to write down select name, name comma gender from students. Then if I give like this, it's just going to show me the name and gender from that particular table. So let me insert few details over here. So I'm going to give ID 2, then convert this to unknown. The age is going to be same, and I'm going to make a female. Okay, so 1 row affected. Okay, so let me check. So there are 2 datas. First one is Anil and second one is Anu. So if I just want to see the details of Anu, then what I have to do is select star from name of the table students where ID equals to, now the ID of Anu is 2, so I'll give 2, put a semicolon, and over here I can only see the details of Anu. Now see, why I have written ID over here is, let me insert one more detail. So I'm going to give 3 over here, everything is same. Okay, now if I just view my, now there are, sorry, so there are 3 details. Okay, the 2 and 3 are same, the names are same, the age is same, and female, the genders are same. Okay, so instead of giving ID, if I give another column, then what is going to happen? If I just want to view the details of Anu whose ID is 2, but I do not know the ID of Anu, so if I use another column, what is going to happen is, now see, so select star from students where ID, so instead of ID, if I've written name equals to, within single quotes, if I write Anu over here, now see, the 2 details are coming. So this will be a problem. So it is, if you want to just view one single record, the better practice is you need to give the ID rather than using the other columns. Okay, so this is your select statement, and I have showed you the insert statement. Now let me show you update. Okay, so again I'm going to just say select star from students. Okay, now I'm going to update Anil to Ashish. Okay, so how to do that is update, then I have to give the name of the table, which is students. Okay, then I have to say set name equals to, I'm going to say Ashish. Okay, then I have to give where, because I just want to change one single data, that's why I'm using where ID equals to 1. Now if I go again and see my detail, now see, the name has been changed from Anil to Ashish. Okay, now again, if you use another column name, for example, rather than ID in your where clause, is going to affect other columns also. So for example, over here, if I'm saying instead of ID, if I'm saying where gender, okay, not gender also, where, if I'm saying age equals to 15, sorry, 15, then look over here, all the names has been changed because all their age was 15. So this is going to hamper your records. So whenever you are updating one single record, okay, then it's better you use your update statement inside your where clause and you give your ID rather than using other columns. Okay, but if you want to change multiple columns at the same time, or you want to update multiple columns at that particular time, you can use your other columns names, like your name, your age, or gender, or whatever it is that you have created in your table. You should not, you cannot just use ID, okay, because ID is just going to update, insert, or delete, or anything on the basis of a single record. Okay, now let me show you how to delete a record. So if I'm writing delete from students where ID equals to 2 is going to, now see, query okay, one row affected. Okay, so it's saying that only one row got affected. So if I'm viewing this data, now see that the ID whose value was 2 got deleted. Okay, now if I want to delete all the records, then just write delete, sorry, delete from students. So 2 rows got affected, which is ID 1 and ID 3. So if I write now, just say select star from students is going to tell me empty set because it is the table is empty. So hope students you have understood how to use and how to create your tables, how to manipulate with your data inside your tables, or how to insert data, or how to use your DML in your SQL commands. It is very important that you know this particular commands. For example, insert statement, delete statement, select statement, update statement, because it is going to create a lot of difference. If you just learn it theoretically, you need to practice also. You can download your what you can say is like MySQL in your smartphone also, and you can implement this SQL commands in your smartphones also. So please practice this, because this is very important, and in both it is 100% sure that is going to come. Okay, especially creating of the table, inserting the values inside your table, and updating your table. Okay, so these three commands are very, very important, and you need to learn this. If you do not learn this, then it's going to create a huge problem for you, and maybe you are going to lose marks. Maybe you can get a very good marks, but if you feel lazy or you do not understood, it can create a very big problem for you. So please students, pay good attention to this particular sections that I'm teaching over here. So in next section that we are going to talk is your referential integrity, which is a bit more theoretical. Okay, so thank you students. If you have any queries, any problems, do let me know.